But in the meantime, I would love the recording's just started now. And in the meantime, I would love for us just to take a few moments and for you to answer in the chat for me, because I have a question for you around your digital transformation and your digital change. How many of you on this call, because there's about 15 of us as a community on this call, you've all joined for a reason to, get some value from digital transformation and what it looks like to build your digital roadmap. So I want to know how many in this call, if you could just put like a thumbs up, if you've already started building out your digital roadmap for your organization, or if you're someone in the organization who is leading on that and thinking about how you're presenting that to your teams and starting to think about what that roadmap looks like, give us a thumbs up in the chat if you're already starting to do that. It'd be great to know. And while you're doing that, I will love to play a little bit of a video. So here's a video about the Innovation Navigator program. It's going to give you a little bit more insight into what I just discussed. And while this is playing, please do let us know in the chat if you're already starting to think in your organizations about digital transformation. Are you already starting to think about how you're going to implement digital change in your business? Give us a thumbs up in the chat. Rookie mistake. Needed to unmute myself there. But thank you so much for your time and energy watching that. Like I mentioned, the Innovation Navigator program is here to help support and help business leaders navigate their way through their innovation process. And that's why we're partnering with fantastic organizations such as Meach Consulting, who are a Microsoft partner and are able to provide you with that guidance that you need for digital change, particularly in these disruptive times. We also have some up and coming events that are going to help support you with that as well. And we offer one-to-one business support as well. So please do keep in touch with us, keep us aware of your goals for digital transformation and change and how we can help you innovate your business. So check out the QR code that's on your screens now. And thank you for those who have let us know whether they're on their digital transformation journey or not. So that's been really useful to know. Now I'm going to hand over to Michelle Williams, who is the founder of Meach Consulting. And today's workshop is all about crafting a data-driven roadmap and how to do that. So over to you, Michelle. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Marika. I nearly made the same mistake then of not taking myself off mute.
Easily
Good
done.
morning. Yeah, good morning, everybody. Almost good afternoon, as some of you may already be afternoon, looking at some of the locations. So I'm going to share with you our it's into slideshow mode for you. Okay. So yeah, hi everybody. I am Michelle. Sorry, just bear with me. Sorry, everybody. I've just had somebody. Yes, so I'm Michelle Williams. Sorry, somebody's just disturbed us in the office. Great timing. So yes, I'll say it for the third time. I'm Michelle Williams. I'm the founder and managing director of Misha Consulting. So as Marika said, we are a Microsoft partner. And what we do is support businesses to implement data analytical and AI solutions. We mainly use Microsoft tooling to support our solutions. So such things like Power BI, Power Apps. But actually we work with many different sort of technologies and tools to help businesses implement those analytics or that automation or any form of AI. So sorts of tools that we've worked with would be the likes of HubSpot, Xero, maybe you've heard of Monday. So we use those tools as our data sources. We use a lot of Excel as our sources, and we try to encourage businesses to take those sources and use them for any data analytics or AI solutions that they may want to implement. One of our key areas is not just about providing the solutions, but is also about providing the knowledge, the training and the education to businesses. So we run many workshops and events across the course of the year, some of those being online events, some being in-person events, where we focus on helping businesses to build up that foundational knowledge. So right from the bottom as to what does actually AI mean, and what does having a data strategy mean, but also about, are your teams data literate? Do they understand the data that you're gathering internally within the business? Do they understand the importance of it, and how they interpret that data? So we then run more specific workshops that's then about specific sort of tools, so the likes of Power BI, as I say, the Microsoft platform, and we may focus on specific areas when we do that. So we may look at a finance function, we may look at marketing or sales functions within a business. So we kind of come at this from two sides, one being a solutions partner, but two also being a training partner for businesses. So that could be also, bespoke training plans. So we support businesses with that as well, who want to start with their AI and data analytics journey. So we support in putting plans together and delivering that those sort of bespoke solutions for businesses. So that's sort of me, who we are. I come from a sort of very analytical process sort of review and mapping background. I've worked for some of the major banks, also across the travel industry. I've worked for the NHS, always been in a discipline of data and processes. And also I did come from a finance background, so one of my specialities is supporting sort of finance teams. I am an accountant by profession, so yeah, that's where my sort of finance discipline comes in. But as a team, we have different disciplines across retail, marketing, and also within the, as I say, the NHS, we've got different team members who have worked in those spaces as well. So multiple of disciplines across our whole team. So this morning, as Marika said, I'm going to talk you through some of the steps in how to create a roadmap, really, and the things that you need to think about when putting that roadmap together. Can be quite daunting. There's a lot of, there's a lot of resources out there, and it's knowing what's best. And sometimes it can be different dependent on the size of business you are. Whether you're a small team of between 1 and 5, or maybe you're a larger business that have got sort of 50 to 100 employees. So at the minute, this sort of workshop will cater for everybody, regardless of what sort of business size you come from and what industry you come from or discipline your job's in. You can be able to take away everything from here, hopefully, and give you some good tips for you to be able to go away and have a think about how you start this journey. So just a brief overview of what we'll cover this morning. So the objectives of the workshop. So we're going to make this a little bit engaging for you. So we do have a poll. So I'd be interested to get some of your thoughts. I'm going to talk to you about the benefits of implementing and the value of implementing data and AI within your business, and how that can help you make those better data-driven decisions. We'll talk through the key steps to implementing a successful roadmap, and we'll review those steps and the key outputs that you would need to think about to create that successful journey. I'll also share with you a bit of an example roadmap. So I've created one that's about sort of personalization of emails and marketing campaigns. So we'll talk you through that. And I've got some case studies that I'll share with you that you can take away. There's also a little video in there as a well-known brand and how they use some AI to develop a marketing campaign. So first of all, if everybody's comfortable, I'd love to get your thoughts on a little bit of an icebreaker question. So hopefully the QR code will work. But if not, you can use the Menti, go through their website and use the code. So I'd love to understand what word reflects your top priority at the minute for leveraging data and AI in your business. Now, it could be that you're not really sure, you've not started yet. It could be that you're on your journey and you've got some top priorities. So I'd be really interested in knowing what those top words are. I'm going to flick my screen. Hopefully we've got some of those coming in. Let's have a look. I think I saw one then. No. So let's have a look. Help. I like that. Efficiency, yes, good. Progression. That's a really good one, because progression for when you start to embark on this is a journey, and your sort of the journey as you go through this will be iterations. So as you embark on implementing some AI, you'll then think about other areas that you want to implement it, but also you'll revisit those areas that you have implemented it to see how you can progress. So yeah, upskilling, that's something that's really key. Automation, yeah, transformation. Anything else anyone can think of?
How about put in the chat cost?
Cost. Yeah, cost. Absolutely.
That's a big one.
That is a big one. That is a big one. And I sort of coming from the sort of the firm that we have created and the business that we've created, cost is really key, because businesses know that they perhaps need to be doing something like this, but businesses are also worried at the cost that this may be to start implementing those solutions, especially if they have to get a partner involved. And that's where we come at it from a training perspective as well. And that sort of those two keywords about help and upskilling. So you've got great workforce already, and we have to support them. One of the things that I know, Marika, you and I have talked about continuously is there's great things happening from an academia perspective, the universities with training graduates and creating courses and degree courses. But actually, we really need to be focusing on the workforce that we've got. So from an investment perspective, I would say one of your key investments is not just about implementing solutions, but actually putting in training and development plans for your resources. There will be resources that you'll have who are probably more keen on learning than others. And that's great. They're the ones that we should push towards giving them the right level of training and expertise to hopefully benefit the whole business, not just their role.
Yeah, we also have a few additions to the word cloud from Alexis in the chat. So the few extra words here is bias, security, tools, and research. I think they're really great additions. Thank you, Alexis.
Yeah. So there's lots of tools out there. I think we know that. And there's new ones being released constantly. So yes, you're right. It's about knowing what are the right tools to use. And this is where, we have to look at how we research, how we look at those tools, how we look at how those tools are changing. So there's lots of sort of studies out there as well about some of those top tools that we should use. And it's also about testing. Sometimes we can do some tests on tools and see if they would work for us as a business. If they don't, we can move on. So long as we're not investing too much time and too much effort in them, we can move on and try others. So it's about testing, and it's about doing a good selection criteria of the different tools. Bias is really interesting because a lot of people feel that using AI kind of fuels that bias. And actually, there's I think there are ways from our human element we can also fuel that bias. So we have to be very careful when we're using AI that it's not just the AI that brings that bias in, but actually we can bring that into the AI as well from our own human aspects. So it is a concern. But I think my thoughts on this is it's about how you use it and how you leverage the prompts within your AI, certainly from a generative AI perspective, how you leverage those prompts and how you sort of think about how you take that bias out so that, we're not, from a gender perspective, a diversity perspective, we aren't looking at those areas and taking that out. There's a lot of, one of the things around that bias is about the data as well. So data is the foundation of anything that you do with AI. So don't just think about implementing that solution of AI. You've got to think about actually the data that you're going to feed in that AI. So it's about having that clean data. And that's what I mean about from us as humans, making sure that we're not fueling those tools with our data that may be biased within it. So we have to be really conscious of the data that we feed into any AI elements. And this is particularly important if you're using it for anything to do with HR from a recruitment perspective. You know, it's really important there that we don't have any of that. And actually, there is some laws coming through in the UK soon that will support that bias side and that discrimination side as well. So we will have more policies coming through soon as to how we have to work and what we have to think about with that as well. Any more? Or I will move on. No? Excellent. Let's go back into okay, right. Okay, so what I wanted to do here was just really highlight the value of implementing any data analytical or AI solution. And I've done that in a way of being able to show you some statistics that are out there at the minute. And these statistics come from some of the bigger consultancy firms like Deloitte and McKinsey and Gartner in studies that they have ran in the past 12 months. So talking about companies that invest in data analytics. So before you even think about implementing any AI, it's around that data analytical perspective. So any companies invested in data analytics can see a 13 times return on investment on average more than they would do if they hadn't. 70% time savings by implementing data analytics tools, so like business intelligence tools, so you can save 70% of your manual time. So whether many of you at the minute do reporting in things like Excel, by implementing a BI tool, so like Power BI or Tableau, if you are implementing those, you can actually save 70% of that time by putting it into a BI tool. And also another really good one, and obviously everything's about our sales and marketing in businesses, that we can increase our conversion rates by 20% if we adopt AI in any sales and marketing strategies within our business. So email campaigns, might not be email campaigns. It could be looking at customer preferences and how we analyze that and then how we target those. So why, you know, we see these statistics and we see that they are high, but why, you know, why should we implement data analytical and AI solutions? And a couple of points there I've made, which is around sort of empowering that data-driven decision making. So enabling us to be able to make quicker and more informed decisions from insights that we have from our data. That helps to increase our accuracy, which then helps to increase perhaps our strategies and for marketing campaigns. So we know better where we direct our efforts. It enhances efficiency, so it automates repetitive tasks. So as I say, data analysts, any customer segmentation, any reporting, and it helps us to identify bottlenecks there as well. So in our workflows, and you know, we can optimize any manual tasks and maybe sort of resource allocation as well. It drives revenue growth. So that's one key one that everybody would like to see. So yeah, driving revenue growth through supporting marketing and sales strategies. So it can help increase our customer retention. And also being able to use some predictive analytics helps identify sort of high value customers and any trends across those customers as well. It improves our customer experience. So we can have sort of real-time recommendations tailored to those customer preferences. So therefore, it then enhances their experience with you as a business. And then being able to strengthen your competitive advantage. So it is, quite well known that early adopters of AI and analytics can outperform their competitors in their market through innovation and efficiency. And what that also does, it helps businesses gain better insights into market trends, gain them faster than any traditional methods. So, if you're wanting to stand out from the crowd, then taking on a journey of AI and analytics is really important to get you ahead of the curve, as it were. So then how do we do this? We've decided we want to start embarking on a data and AI journey. So how do we do this? What are the things that we need to think about? And one of those things is moving towards developing that roadmap. So how do we build a successful roadmap? So there are sort of varying different steps that we need to go through to implement a successful roadmap, and to implement not just a successful roadmap, but actually successful solutions. So we have some really high level things to start with that we need to think about before we even get to developing a roadmap. So first of all, that would be about establishing the foundations. So what does that mean? So that's around defining your goals, assessing your current state, and maybe even creating a data strategy in there. Now, that's not necessarily something that every business would perhaps want to do, a data strategy, but depending on how small you were, you may want to think of some of the top areas within a data strategy. So that would be more around how you collect, store, and manage your data. Then we move on to identifying opportunities. So how do we think about that? How do we prioritize those use cases? So we used sort of techniques such as process mapping, use case identification, so brainstorming potential use cases. And we may look at some of the risks and the ethical areas, maybe adopting a sort of a framework for both risk and ethical areas. In that risk space, we'd probably look at that bias side in there. And we might also look at ensuring that we're compliant with, there's no data breaches and there's no violations. Once we've kind of got an idea of that, we move through to designing our roadmap. So this middle section up here. So therefore, that means, we set those objectives, we put those milestones in place, we break that sort of journey down into phases of assessing and developing and implementing. And we set some really clear deliverables. We then develop that and look at that technology and talent strategy. So we'll talk about that a little bit more as well. So we'll go into this in a little bit more depth. We then look at making sure we've got a good governance framework. Again, we've got good roles and responsibilities in there. Then we move through and we say, right, we'll implement and scale. So we'll pilot projects. We iterate, and I talked about that at the beginning. So we iterate and we improve on those. And then we try and scale it across the business. We expand our successful solutions across different departments. And then one of the sort of last things is all about that measuring, tracking the performance, looking at now versus how we used to do things. Have we improved? What is that ROI? What are those gains that we've had? And we sort of foster that behavior of continuous improvement. We foster that behavior as sort of continuous improvement in ensuring that we are going keeping up to date with everything that's going on. We're keeping our models updated, and we're staying agile to be able to adapt to any changing business needs, or maybe new technology that we might need to bring in again. So we follow those sort of top tier of those high level steps. And then what we say is, okay, let's look at each of these areas in a little bit more detail. So when we talk about establishing the foundations, I mentioned at first that it's about defining those business goals. So in defining those business goals, we identify them and we look at how data and AI can support those objectives. So, if we are talking about improving efficiency or enhancing customer experience or even increasing revenue, how can we bring in data and AI solutions to support those objectives? So an increase in, increase in your revenue side of things could potentially be twofold, in that you could look at the key statistic I gave at the beginning about implementing data analytics and being able to reduce time by 70%. That will help drive your increasing revenue, because you're not going to be needing to take on more staff because you're freeing up people's time. So you look at how those how using data and AI can support those objectives. And you also need to align with your stakeholders. So you need to make sure you've got, the right people in the business who are going to support it, are going to remain committed to it, and they'll help towards the purpose of it as well. Also within that foundational stage is about assessing your current state. So this is really important to assess where you currently are. So about identifying, your data sets, the sources of that data, and the sources would be the tools and the platforms that you're using. But also one really key area is the quality of your data. We talk quite a lot to businesses about, do they do data quality checks regularly? It's really important that businesses do this because it helps you identify gaps. It's very easy for people to put data into a system and maybe misspell things or put things in the wrong fields. So doing those data quality checks is really important, because if you haven't got that good, healthy data, then your AI models and solutions that you'll build will be built on bad data. And that's what we don't want. So it's about fostering that culture in the business of the quality of your data. We also sort of suggest in that space as well that you do a bit of an audit of your current tools and platforms. So quite often businesses will sign up to new pieces of technology, and it's really easy now with a lot of things being cloud-based that we sign up to new technology and then either we're not using it or we're paying for it, or there's certain people in the business using it and it's not being widely used. So we do a good audit of those tools and platforms and look at what is it being used for, what value do we get from it. And then we also evaluate the expertise of our workforce in data analysis and AI. So looking at what skills you've got across the business and identifying those people. We then come on to your section about identifying opportunities. So how do we do this? And this is where a lot of people sort of look at it as it being quite a big, daunting task. Where do we start? And my advice, and we always say to clients, is start small. So first of all, just identify some of those key processes where we think data and AI could bring value. So you might think about a specific email marketing campaign where you want to make it more personalized, or you might think about a finance report that you want to automate and implement a particular tool for, so that the finance team aren't spending lots of time at the end of the month creating reports. So you'll find those key processes, and it's all about brainstorming. So brainstorm those potential use cases. So those two that I've mentioned, do some good brainstorming around them and evaluate their feasibility. This will help bring other stakeholders in from the business to be able to hear everybody's views on it. You know, everybody will have different thoughts as well. So it's about really trying to prioritize those projects as well. So it's taking in what different people across the business believe would be good potential use cases, and then looking at them and prioritizing them. And again, this section is where you would then evaluate those risks. So those risks we've talked about around bias and data compliance, things like that, we'd evaluate the risks there as well as we look at those use cases. We then look to develop a technology strategy. Now, this is where it can get a little bit daunting, because what we say here is to try and create a list of tools and platforms, data and AI platforms that you could potentially use. And you might sit there and go, well, where do we start? How do we know are the best ones? You know, what would work for us as a business? Is there anything that we can leverage in the current tools that we've got? So this requires a good bit of time and effort within a business to be able to understand and create that list. And what's really good is, dependent on, again, you know, the way your business is structured and different business areas, would be to maybe have a couple of champions within your business. And maybe they could have like what we would call like a watching brief group. And that group can help review tools in their area, review those tools, see how they're changing, look at the competition, you know, look at how AI might be reshaping certain things within maybe the construction industry. So, you know, having those champions within the business to kind of help to do that research makes it feel a little bit less daunting, because then as you review them and you brainstorm them against your use cases, you can, you know, dismiss certain things and certain bits of technology that you don't think would work for you. You know, being able to have those champions in the business as well can not just look at how you can shape AI within those business sectors, but also within your job. So your job maybe as a marketing assistant or as a finance manager, and how AI is shaping as a department as well as within your role. You know, those champions are really good for research tools as well. So, you know, they can go out and they can do you know, any research further into and look at case studies into those particular tools, and also look at, you know, simple new ways of doing things. So not just using ChatGPT, which is a fantastic tool, but looking at, you know, other simple ways of doing things and leveraging other tools that are out there. Within that, developing a technology strategy as well, we talk about, you know, you may need to look for a potential partner to help support with this, whether that's on a learning perspective or a solutions perspective. You may have to do some planning for integration into existing systems. So it might be that, you know, you might have something like HubSpot already, and you might decide to actually invest in some of their AI modules to help with your marketing and your lead generation. Or it might be just that, how do you plan on integrating your new technologies with those current systems that you've already got? So maybe looking at how you can bring in some marketing you would do your evaluation of your vendors and your partners for any sort of selection criteria. Now, this next pillar about assessing talent and skills, this is an area that I think is really, really key. And I believe that it is just as important as going out and trying to find a particular tool or looking at the data, because if you haven't prepared or haven't got the skill sets internally, then you need to be thinking about, first of all, how can we upskill our current workforce? So here what we do is we say it's really good for you to do an analysis of the skills across your business, so that you understand what skills people have got in different disciplines. So, you know, maybe it's data analysis, it might be going into certain things around data, around certain languaging within data, so SQL or Python languaging. You might also then look at skills from a technology perspective. So who's got your CRM knowledge internally? Who's got good Excel skills internally? You know, who's good at being able to write code and be able to put complex calculations together? So it's really good to do a skills analysis across your business. Then from that, this will help you then develop a training plan to be able to build that data and AI knowledge and expertise within your business. Now, you may look at your skills assessment and think, actually, we might want to consider hiring. Or actually, we will take the time and bring in a training plan. And also then the other outcome that will come from that is then you will define different roles and responsibilities within the business. And that's where you come back to your champions as well. Those champions might not just be about the watching that we talked about from sort of tools changing and competition, but it could also be identifying them as key leaders within the business to push that strategy forwards. And then the final pillar that we talk about is sort of planning for that scalability, but also looking at that governance. So planning for your scalability with then selecting the right use cases for development. What I would also suggest is that to not look any further ahead than 6 months at a time, because we like to put in plans for 12 months, 3 years, and we put these sort of strategy plans in place. But actually, where this is concerned, a 6 months plan feels a little less daunting, doesn't feel like you've got as many tasks to take on, and you look at the use cases in that what you could deliver within that period. So it might be that in that 6 months you might focus on implementing one AI solution, maybe something in marketing, or you might bring in some finance data analytical reporting, or you might decide to put a full training plan in for 6 months as your first thing and say, actually, our first 6 months we're going to focus on training our staff and educating our staff, and then and using that time as well to then build that roadmap. And then after that 6 months, by the end of it, we should have some staff that have been upskilled, and also we should have then a position where we might have some use cases that we can then go on and plan the next 6 months. What are we going to deliver in the next 6 months? So it's about taking it in bite-sized chunks. I don't think there's I'm not sure if it's a good time to ask if anybody's got any questions so far, but we might just leave those to the end. So if you take these as your foundation of how do we plan, how do we build this successful roadmap? What are the things we need to think about? So then what we talk about then is about how you design your roadmap. So how do we put this together? Where do we start? And that's always quite, again, it can feel like a bigger task than it actually is. So there are some key steps to creating your roadmap, and there are some key outputs that you should think about creating, so that those outputs will then support your roadmap plans. So the key steps is, I've put a number of key steps down the left-hand side. So first of all, again, we talk here about assessing your current state. So this is about, again, reviewing your data, reviewing your processes, reviewing your tools, but identifying your strengths, your gaps, and your opportunities for improvements. You then define your clear objectives. So that would be setting sort of measurable goals. So, do you want an increased engagement? Do you want higher conversion rates? So if you're running marketing campaigns, you might want a higher rate of clicks. You might actually want those leads to turn into actual conversions. And again, this is one where you have to align that back to your business objectives. So if that becomes about retention of current customers, or it's about increasing revenue. So then we develop your strategy. So the next key step would be, okay, we're going to put a strategy together now. So we're going to look at things like data quality, integration of those systems, but most importantly, identifying key metrics and KPIs. So in that strategy, it's again, that side of it is telling us, where are we going to head to? What do we want to achieve? We then create a plan. So you might, if you're looking from a marketing perspective, you might segment your audience based on maybe certain behaviors, different demographics. You might even look at different preferences, dependent on how you interact with your customers. Preferences might be key there. And then you plan your targeted campaigns. So again, from a marketing perspective, that sort of creating that plan, you target it more at, right, we're going to look at a specific plan for each segment. So we might look at those demographics. Again, we then talk about, how do we select the right tools? So selecting the right tools is really quite key. So do we choose email marketing and AI tools that fit your needs, so that segmentation, or some dynamic content? So it's about going away and doing that little bit of research that you perhaps would have done in those early stages to they say, right, we've done our research now. These are the tools that we would think would work best for marketing. So you integrate those tools then for a smooth transition and a smooth workflow. You create a training plan. So again, this is not just a training plan that's about upskilling your staff. This is a training plan then about showing your staff how to use the AI. So again, if you're in a marketing department and you've got a couple of people within that department who have developed the solution, that it's how they deliver that out to the rest of the team. How do they train the team so the team know how to use it? Are the team actually going to have access, or are you only giving it to certain people? So this is more about training from a use case perspective, not necessarily, as we talked about on the slide before, about an upskilling across the workforce. This is more specific to that particular use case that you're building your roadmap on. You launch and you test. So that would be your next steps. So you start with maybe some pilots, you test those pilot campaigns, you test the content, you test your timing, you track your results, and maybe you refine your strategies until you're at a point where you want this to become a productionized solution. And then you evaluate and you optimize. So again, I know I've sort of come back to this one a couple of times, but you need to be able to measure the success within your business, that the solution that you've built is actually providing the return on investment that you wanted it to. So it comes back to that beginning about those key KPIs and metrics that you set when you're creating your roadmap. So what are those key objectives? What are those key KPIs? And then when you roll out and you start using it, where are you tracking against that? Are you actually performing? Are you getting those click-through rates? Are you getting those conversions? Are you getting any leads from it? And you continually will optimize that content for those campaigns, and you'll target based on the insights that come out of it. So you might decide that actually you've not quite hit those KPIs. So therefore, what data insights have you got that you can analyze to then help you improve on it? So again, it's that iteration. So going back through and revisiting and seeing where you can optimize it further. And then one of the sort of the last things and the foundation is about that sort of scale success. So if you've had good success with this particular campaign, it's then about expanding it more. It's about leveraging it and optimizing those ongoing campaigns and any future strategies. So it's this journey that will continue to sort of take you round and broaden as time goes by. So some of the key outputs for a roadmap, and actually this is not just supporting your roadmap, but it's really about key outputs that you should be thinking about putting together when you want to adopt any form of data analytics or AI. So talked about sort of having a strategy document, and that strategy document, as I say, might be different depending on the different levels of the different size of businesses that you are. And then looking at just some of the key things. If you're a smaller business, you might just want to look at the data that you hold, the quality of your data, but also making sure that you're keeping that data healthy. What are your plans around that? What are the tools that you're going to use to help support that healthy data? A skills assessment report, so we've talked about that. So having a skills assessment report is really it's really key for you to identify people within the business that can help drive this journey forward. Again, technology and systems assessments. So having a current review of that, so an output that shows that. Process maps. Process maps are really good to help us to look at the current position of a particular process and what we're doing. Helps you look at those manual steps that sit within there, and it helps you sort of revisit where you are and where you want to be. So what steps will be taken away by the introduction of the AI? So process maps are always really good for you to understand what you're doing now to how you want to be doing it in the future. And actually this supports those business use cases as well. So those two kind of come together, because as you develop your process maps, you'll be able to support those use cases and what you're going to do with those process maps. You might already look at some future technology and tools planning, and having done some research on the different tools. Training and development plan. Again, I'll come back to saying how important that is, but that's a real key output. And then again, your success, you're measuring your metrics and you're monitoring, and you've got a plan in place as to how you're going to do that. So are you going to use some analytical software to do that, or are you going to do it in Excel? Which obviously I would discourage the second one. So yeah, again, that's, you know, another key output. So what I'm going to show you now is I've briefly put a roadmap use case example together for you based on an email personalized marketing campaign, and the sort of phases that you would need to go through to create that roadmap. What are the objectives? What are those key activities? What are the outputs? And also about the AI applications that you may need to think about in each of those phases to help you deliver on each of those phases successfully to move into the next one. So we'll just talk you through this. I'll talk you through this briefly. So this is for, as I say, an email, a personalized email marketing campaign. So you can see on the left-hand side, so this would be your roadmap of where you're starting from and what your objectives are, where you want to get through to. So you'd have different phases down the left-hand side. So you do your assessment phase, you'd then go into development, you'd go into implementation, you'd evaluate, and then you'd optimize. And that optimize will be a continuing circle. So you'd keep going back to that, and you'd likely keep going back to the evaluation step as well. So what you would do is you'd look at your objective. So for your assessment phase, you'd understand your capabilities. You'd look at the key activities within that. So you'd perhaps say, you know, current email performance. So you'd audit some of your email performance. You'd review your customer data quality. So again, it comes back to that data being the absolute foundation of anything that you do with building sort of AI strategies and solutions. You'd look at your outputs. So you'd perhaps look at your email performance report, you'd look at your quality insights, and then you'd look at putting together then some actions that if you need to improve in those areas, you'd put some actions together as to what you need to improve on before you can go into the development. There's some applications that you can use there to help with data cleaning and analysis. But actually on that application side, I've highlighted 2 in green because this is where I think you would need to think about AI tools. In that data sort of quality and insights, again, dependent on how big you are as a company, you might be able to do this in a slightly different way rather than investing in a AI tool to do it, unless you can find some free tools to support it. So when you come into your development phase, this is about developing those goals and that email personalization approach. So setting your goals. So what do you want? A higher open rate of those emails, and create those customer segments. So your outputs is about having those clear goals, those clear KPIs, and that's segmentation strategy. And therefore, what I've said in there is that this is where then perhaps having a tool to help do that and do that development is where then those sorts of customer segmentation tools become more critical, really, to help with that. You then look at your implementation. So you'll launch your campaigns. So you'll create that personalized content. You'll test those campaigns with that A to B testing. And then your outputs is you'll look at your personalized email templates and you'll look at those test results as well. And again, here is where those toolings is where you definitely need to invest in a tool for any sort of dynamic content and timing of when you want those emails to go out. You then, once you've then got it implemented and you're testing and you're doing those pilot campaigns, you'd look at the how you evaluate those campaigns. and how you measure the success. And there are ways of being able to do that through using different BI analytical tools. And then it's around that optimization, so continually enhancing. So what you're doing there is you're monitoring your trends. So monitoring your trends in this would be, you know, maybe looking at what time those people that have opened those emails, you know, can we see a time when they may have opened them? You know, is there a set time where it would be better that we sent those emails out? Would that be first thing in the morning? Would that be in the afternoon? And you'd look at that depending on what the content of that email was as well. So, you know, are we targeting mums at home, or are we targeting people who work, or are we targeting people of a certain age that are maybe into sport and they perhaps go to the gym in the evening? So you'd look at those trends to see when would be best to improve that personalisation. And that becomes all around that customer preference side of things as well. Again, part of that enhancing is continually improving your workflows as well. There's, again, I've not highlighted this green because I think there's easy ways for you to do it, to not have to really overthink about the sort of tools that you would use to be able to do that predictive analytics. And sometimes for those, it could already be inbuilt into the tools that you've used to do the development and implementation. And this, somebody asked at the beginning, or one of the words somebody asked at the beginning is about, you know, it's choosing the right tools. So as we said, there's lots of tools out there, and there's lots still being developed and put out there for us to be able to use. So there's a couple of key things that I would say to look for here, and that is around budget. So determine the scale of your budget for your marketing efforts and available resources. So there are many free tools, but there are some that have more tiered plans. So think about what your budget is to be able to invest in that. Any integration needs. So what you've got to do is make sure that you've got compatibility with any existing systems that you may already have, like your CRM, or if it's e-commerce platforms, making sure that they integrate. So whatever new AI tools you bring in, that they integrate currently with your current systems, because then we're then thinking about if they don't, but you really want to use that AI tool, then you kind of coming into a bigger world of digital transformation then, and actually looking at maybe replacing your CRM system, or maybe replacing whatever e-commerce platform you may use. Also within that is making sure that your AI solutions and tools actually can integrate with any analytical tools, because you want to be able to have the ability to be able to analyze and measure your success. So in those last two phases of your evaluation and optimization, making sure that you've got an analytical tool and it links in with the AI tool that you're using. Could be that they've got some inbuilt dashboards, but you might not find that's enough. Again, that'll fit in with your budget and the tools that you have to offer. Also coming back, one of the last things I'd say about choosing the right tool is your team skills. So make sure you select tools that match your team's technical expertise, or those tools that may provide sort of strong support and training resources. What you don't want is to move forward with a tool and actually nobody knows how to use it, or you know, maybe it may feel a little bit too technical for them. So that's where you would use your skills assessment to make sure that you're aligning there properly. And there's a couple of tools I thought I'd just point out for this particular use case. Some of which you've probably already heard of. So like MailChimp, they offer lots of different personalization of tools, also offer those inbuilt A and B testing and reporting features. So once you've launched that campaign and how you test your results. You've got HubSpot. So HubSpot uses different elements of AI to personalize subject lines and content and any recommendations that you may want to make for those customer preferences. Zoho CRM, again, this is a good marketing automation tool. They have good AI insights for targeted campaigns within there. Zoho has various different modules that you can use, from CRM to finance to your marketing automation. There's Marketo Engage, so that personalizes email content based on those customer behaviors and preferences. So that would sort of fit well here. And Adobe as well. Adobe has some good uses of AI to predict the best times to engage with those customers. So as we talked about improving that personalization, they provide some AI to predict the best times for those customers as well. So you may find that it might be more than one tool that you would use to roll something like this out. You might not always find one tool that fits in every element that you want to develop and deploy. So you might need to think about, it could be that it comes across two different tools. Obviously, the ideal is having that one tool, but you may have to think about, as I've just said there, with the Adobe side of things, where they focus specifically on times. You might want to link that in with another marketing tool that actually does the personalization for you. So the two come together, so that the Adobe side of it is telling you when best to send those emails, and something like Marketo Engage will help with that content side of things. So that's a example of a bit of a simple email marketing and personalization campaign. So there's a couple of success stories we can talk about. I have got a video, and I'm hoping it will work. So there's some really good videos, and there's some really good resources that you can find online to help. So some videos, if you look, there is a TED Talk. And I'll when we're done, I'll drop some of the links in the chat so that you've got them. But some of the TED Talks are really good about the future of AI and where we're going, not just from how we're using it, but also how, there's been a lot of stuff in the news this week about how the government are going to be really focusing on AI adoption and really pushing us towards being one of those leading countries. But there's things in there to help around the laws that will be coming in soon, laws that are already some sort of declarations that we've already got across countries. So it's not just about how we use it, but also we need to understand about how we where we stand legally, and the policies that will be coming in. IBM as a whole do some great AI in business videos. And I wanted to show you a video of from Heinz. So Heinz ran a marketing stunt a while ago using OpenAI. So OpenAI, they have ChatGPT, but they also have a image generator called DALL-E 2. So Heinz actually used OpenAI's DALL-E image generator to create a series of source inspired images. So the team, the marketing team, fed the software some random ketchup related phrases, and the results were actually quite overwhelmingly plastered with various different elements of Heinz signature branding across different types of bottles. So it's pretty good the way it's been put together. So hopefully this will work. You might not get the sound, but hopefully you will. So yeah, I think a great thing to show how imaging, you can just use sort of single words to build images, but also how intuitive it can actually be in taking one word and knowing that ketchup stands for Heinz. And there's also a couple of really good case studies, slightly bigger businesses, but I think from if you're from a marketing or e-commerce or retail background, they're really good to read. So just both for Coca-Cola and North Face, they run some great campaigns. Again, I'll provide the links for you to read. But yeah, Coca-Cola created a campaign around sort of enhancing customer engagement and optimizing their marketing strategies by using AI technologies. And the sort of the key actions that they wanted to get out of it was to analyze the consumer data, enabling the creation of highly personalized marketing campaigns. So fits nicely with the use case that we've just talked about. But also they did one around AI powered vending machines. So they implemented AI in their vending machines to analyze sort of social media content, gaining insights into the customer behaviors and preferences again. So results were really sort of positive, and the personalized campaigns led to increased consumer interaction and brand loyalty. It also enhanced marketing efficiency, so it streamlined processes, resulting in even more efficient campaigns. And North Face did something very similar around more personalized, efficient shopping experiences online for their customers. So they brought in an AI chatbot. So North Face introduced the chatbot and gave it a name of Sirius to assist customers in selecting products based on their preferences and needs. And also they leveraged another IBM chatbot to engage customers in a conversational manner about enhancing, again, the online shopping experience. And for them, results were significantly increased their conversion rates. So the AI-driven assistance led to a significant boost in sales conversions, but also from a customer satisfaction perspective. So it personalized recommendations that improved the overall shopping experience, and again led to higher customer satisfaction, which then means customers came back, they bought more. So some really good case studies and the sort of success results there. There's lots of sort of resources out there, sort of checklists for you to be able to check your readiness, scorecards for success. We support with a lot of that sort of stuff in around measuring where you are now and where you were sort of in 6 months' time, in 12 months' time. So it's all about measuring and making sure that we are succeeding as we implement. One good speaker to look out for is a lady called Katie King. She's an English lady. She's a really good speaker in AI. So she has varying good content and videos that you can watch. So yes, there's lots of good successful case studies out there. I think I'm done, Marika. Done talking. It'd be good if we could open up the floor now to questions.
Absolutely.
Maybe.
And firstly, I just want to commend you on the high value content that you've been able to share with everybody on this call today. It's been absolutely mind blowing. And to be honest with you, you know, it's such a meaty topic, isn't it, Michelle? We were talking about this before, you know, when we started, that it's the type of topic that it requires a lot of thought, a lot of detail, and I think you've been able to really kind of encapsulate that in such a short amount of time, and give people not only, you know, the tools that they need to look out for, but actually some of those broken down, easy step-by-step things that they need to start thinking about to get them on that journey. You'll notice that in the chat, I was busy beavering away, making little notes, and also sharing some of Michelle's resources that she had mentioned throughout the talk. So as you were doing that, Michelle, I was dropping them into the chat. So things like Power BI, the also one of the automated tools to help integrate some of the cross communication between different tools is a site called Zapier, and that's really useful as well. So please do check that out. And then we've also got Zoho that you mentioned, Adobe, IBM. I dropped in the Heinz AI Ketchup YouTube link as well. What I loved about that, it's such a funny video. I love that they mentioned, like, even AI knows we're Heinz. Like, that's just
exactly.
So that was really fun.
Yeah. Even
Um,
AI knows that when the word ketchup is mentioned, that Heinz is the place to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I've got is a few questions that I've captured. So Abba mentioned, I think this is a really good question as well, about what tools are available for business leaders. Oh no, that was my question. Hang on, what we've got, okay, what criteria do you use to decide which projects to prioritize when scaling? So this kind of goes back to that breaking down slide with different columns. How do you know what to prioritize?
Yeah, so I mean, I would look for the areas where you're probably going to get the most value from to start with. So where are you going to save the most time? What's going to have, you know, the biggest impact to us as a business in saving the most time? Now, what you might do is you might look at that, and you might look at that one and go, actually, that's quite a big project for us to start with first. So what quick wins have we got? What smaller quick wins have we got that we can implement? So you've got to look at it across the whole, and you've got to be able to put some key sort of business case metrics. So what is that return on investment? What time can we save? How much does that time equate to? And what sort of benefit will that drive to the business? And then look at it as a whole and say, actually, that's quite a big project to take on. Although it's going to bring in the biggest value, are we ready for that level first? And are we best to start with some of the smaller quick wins? So it's really good that when you're identifying your use cases, you put some ROI metrics against them.
Yeah, really good, useful advice there. I hope that's helpful to you, Abba. We also have another question around, this one is about, how do you foster a culture of continuous improvement across the team? What's the best way to do that? That's from Alexis.
So yeah, to be honest, I would say one of the main things, first of all, is about having the right culture in the business. So not just about continuous improvement, but actually about data. So making sure you've got a good culture within the business about how we look after our data, how we manage our data, how we use our data. If we start there and start to build that sort of data-driven culture within our business, then what you will tend to find is the rest will come together. So you'll start to foster that culture of sort of looking after that data quality management side of it. That will then feed into your thought process about what should we implement? How should we, how can we improve? What are those AI areas that we can bring in? You know, we can automate some tasks with, we can save time with. And what you will find is that continuous improvement will evolve with that.
Yeah.
So it's not about, I would say, don't focus on the continuous improvement side, focus on the data and bringing in that data-driven culture within the business. Focus on the adoption of AI strategies, and then your continuous improvement should come with it, because as you build those strategies and you're using those strategies, you should then come into those that evaluate and that optimize phases that I've talked about, which is then when that continuous improvement journey will evolve. What I would say is, and it's you know, it's a really good question, because what you don't want is to have, you know, you to start out on that journey and maybe implement a you know, maybe implement some data analytics, and then it gets left, because then what's happening there is you're stepping back from that continuous improvement, and that's what you don't want to happen. So that's where it's good to bring in these champions within the business, identify those champions, focus on that training, that educating, that upskilling side of it, because that will ignite the passion in people as well to keep that continuous improvement journey going.
I love that, Michelle. It also just brings a point back to what you mentioned earlier about the digital champion. So you're saying, actually, if you focus on one area of importance in the business, so for example, you use data, then who's the data digital champion in your team that's going to activate that? And maybe there's some lunch and learn training sessions that you could do. Maybe there's some small workshops and grouping sessions that you can do to kind of map out what needs to change within that team. And doing those things in parallel helps to foster that culture in the business.
Exactly. And
so
the key point that you've just actually said there, Marika, around, you know, lunch and learns and things like that, we have to give our resources, our staff, the time through the weeks and the months to be able to to be able to develop. So we must think about allowing them to have that time to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And then I had a question for you. So my question before we wrap up is around what tools are available for business leaders who are on this call today and you know, who are thinking about their digital transformation. What tools can help them build the roadmap? So the actual, what I'm talking about is, what can they use to, is it an Excel spreadsheet to build that roadmap? Is it is there something out there that enables them to do it and enables them to track their progress and goals across the team?
Yeah, it's it's an interesting one. So what I would say is there isn't anything specific that is a template as such to build your roadmaps. and maybe there's a gap in the market for that.
Yeah.
What I would say is some of this can depend on maybe using, say, project management and planning tools. So you may want to use Microsoft Planner. You could use Monday. You could use Asana, anything like that. They would work. You could. Within those, you can bespoke them. So the phases that I've talked through around assessment and implement, you could build those phases into sort of project management and planning tools to then build it out further. Some of those tools are really open for you to be able to bespoke them. Yes, using a spreadsheet, if spreadsheet's the right thing for you to be able to set out in that table format, then you can use that. And what you can then do is, if you are already using a sort of data analytical tool like Power BI or Tableau, you could put that Excel spreadsheet into either of those tools to then analyze that data for you, to create those dashboards and to see how you're tracking. There's probably a couple of other things out there, but I think, sort of good collaboration and communication tools that you could perhaps use. So maybe Miro, which is good for brainstorming and designing processes.
Yeah.
What else could you use? I think the way to look at the roadmap is almost like it's about planning. A roadmap is
Yeah.
about planning. What are the steps you're going to take to put that roadmap together? So that's
So
I'd
it's good to
say
use maybe the sort of project management tools out there. So you've
I think so.
mentioned Asana, Monday.com, and maybe collaboration platforms like Miro. So I've dropped
Yeah,
those links into the chat.
yeah,
Michelle, our time is up, but we could go on for ages, and you know what we're like.
yeah.
But I just want to say a big, big thank you to you for the value that you've provided and for being a BMET innovation partner. We really value your contribution to the Innovation Navigator program, and also to everybody that joined this call today. In fact, there was a lovely comment from someone called Emma, who asked if this would be recorded and if there'll be access to this recording afterwards, because I thought they were leaving the call, but actually they were sticking around, and they love the information so much that they want to stop and pause and soak all the information in. And so thank you so much for Emma, for your lovely feedback, which actually brings me to the little call to action from those of you who are still on the call and stuck with us to the end. We'd love for your feedback. We'd love for you to share with us exactly what you thought about
Yeah.
this session. We will be working with Michelle more closely. We've got some great ideas for part 2 of this event, and potentially doing another live stream expert session and an in-person session too. So in the meantime, what we need from you is what worked well today. What was the key things that you really enjoyed? What were the things that we can do better to improve the sessions that we have upcoming with Michelle and Mish Consulting? So my wonderful colleague Geeta has inputted the link for the feedback form into the chat, so you'll find it in there. Please take a moment to complete that for us, and we will certainly, Emma, share the link going ahead forward. We've got another comment here saying, thank you both. This is a huge conversation that is not finite. Indeed, Jo, it is a big conversation.
Absolutely.
We
Yeah.
will be working with Michelle to follow up on part 2 and really kind of break this down. But we're getting a digital applause. We're getting 100 emojis and okay signs in the chat. So thank you so much. It's really positive feedback. Thank you for everyone on the call, and thanks again, Michelle, for your time and energy. That's all from us.
I'll drop my LinkedIn in the chat, so if anybody wants to connect and keep an eye out for those other events that we're going to be running as well, please do connect.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Love that. And Michelle's LinkedIn is in the chat as well. So please make sure you do connect with her because she's super valuable and is always available to help you guys. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are in the world and take care. We'll see you soon. Bye bye.
Thank you.